Hello, everyone, and welcome to Skill Series Tax Literacy event. My name is Alexandra, and I am a general member here at Skill Series. And I'd just like to take a moment to thank you all for coming to our live stream. So in this workshop, we're going to cover the basics of taxes, how you can control your finances, and we have a couple of guest speakers here to help you understand your taxes. Nimalan, who is the CEO and founder of CloudTax, and Kyle, who's a fourth-year accounting student at Ontario Tech U. So if you have any questions during their presentations, please feel free to post them in the YouTube live chat, and we'll get to them during the open panel discussion. So before we get started, I would like to thank both CloudTax and RBC for sponsoring this live stream. And if you can find more information about them from their respective websites here. Okay, so we also have a giveaway happening during our live stream too. So if you go to the link, which is right there, and input your details, you'll be entered to win a $50 financial bundle from Amazon. So we're talking about books, expense trackers, and more. We'll be drawing the prize at 8 p.m. Eastern Time today and emailing the winner shortly after that. You have 24 hours to respond to our email. Otherwise, we'll be unfortunately selecting another winner. All right, so let's get started. So first we have Nimalan, who is the founder and CEO of CloudTax, an income tax filing platform certified by the CRA. Using his experience and expertise working with the CRA and his post-secondary education in accounting and finance, he has set out to create an accessible, free, and effective way to file income tax returns. So his platform, CloudTax, is a web and mobile-friendly, do-it-yourself application for Canadian taxpayers to file their simple tax return at no cost.
All right, thank you so much. Thanks a lot for having me here today, and really appreciate putting out a great event today, and especially during the tax time. And it's definitely a thing, a lot of people can get your questions answered, and I'm going to keep it very interactive. And please feel free to put your questions in the chat so that we could get them answered. So I'm just going to give you a little background on CloudTax. So CloudTax was started with the mission to help people file the taxes in a very simple and easy way. So I used to prepare taxes for a lot of people, and often I end up spending about an hour or two. People will be spending an hour or two waiting to see me, and then I will spend about 5 minutes preparing the taxes, and I would be charging like $50 or $40 for that matter. So I kind of felt like that's not right, because you're literally data entering and you're charging somebody at $40, and it's not just the $40 is just time, and more than anything, the understanding of your taxes is so much important. So that's when I decided to build an application where do-it-yourself application where it's simple enough, interactive, and if you have any questions, then we have the tax professionals to answer any questions. So it's going to give the assurance on how you're not alone by yourself. So you always have a support to kind of like lean back on. So that's kind of like a little bit of glimpse about CloudTax. So I'm gonna just do a quick demo on CloudTax. So just for you guys to see it. So let me just do a quick screen share here. And before I start, I think I just want to start with a giveaway from our side from CloudTax. So we're doing $100 Amazon Amazon card giveaway. So all you have to do is download the CloudTax app from the App Store. It's absolutely free. You don't have to put any credit card information, nothing like that. Download the app either from the App Store or the Google Play, and then create an account so that we know that you you downloaded it. And then if you can write a review, which will help us obviously help more people, people in your stage who's looking to file their taxes for free and in an easier way. So please do write a review if you like it. If you don't like it, you could also write negative review, no problem. But you will still qualify for the draw, and we will announce the winner on our Instagram page. On our Instagram page, we are quite active, and we do a lot of a lot of informational section talking about taxes, personal taxes, business taxes, tips, and even just in the general personal finance in general. And we also do collaboration with the other financial influencers as well. So if you want to just follow us on the CloudTax Instagram, and that's where we will be announcing the winner. And I think you guys will get an email from the team here as well. So let's jump into the taxes. So basically, CloudTax is pretty simple and straightforward. So anyone with basic understanding of how to fill out a form or how to follow a recipe, how to it will be very easy to follow and do it. So I'm just gonna quickly do a demo on how it's done. So once you register, you will come to the screen where you will be able to select your marital status. This marital status is most of you are a student, I believe, so it will be be either single or married if you're married, and if you're even living in a common law relationship, you could probably mention here. So the thing with the marital status is that you have to let CRA know if there is a change, and if the marital status is not matching with the current marital status on the CRA's CRA system, you will not be able to file your taxes. So even though it is a pretty straightforward thing, but it can be complicated when you're filing your actual taxes because CRA wouldn't be able to match your current marital status. So a couple of things that you could do is that if you change your marital status in the middle of the year, you could also send a marital status change, or you could do that on the CR's My Account as well. So that's just to give you an FYI. And if you have any dependents and stuff like that, then you could say yes. And when you say yes, and what happens is that on the navigation, you will get the dependent page added to the return. So after that, you get to choose one of the tasks. So for example, if I selected employee or a student, and CloudTax will suggest you a couple of things. So if you're an employee, then you would have, for example, T4, T4A, T3, and all that stuff. So we'll get into details later, but I'm just gonna do a quick breeze through. So say, for example, I have a T4 slips that I received from my employment. I would put that, and then say, for example, I got, say, CERB, and I would want to put it on it will come on a T4A. So I would just select that as well. And in terms of the deductions, you could go through the list and see what's suitable for you, whether it's RSP, or you might have, like, for example, moving expenses. A lot of students probably have moving expenses and annual dues and union dues. If you have if you're into professional work, then you will be paying a lot of dues as well, so that can go in here. And other than that, sometime just going through the list will help you kind of give you a light bulb. Hey, I might have that, so that's something that I could claim. So something like that for same thing for a credit. So you have a student interest paid on a student loan, which is one of the main one we'll talk about later, and also the T2202, which is very common for students, right? And then we have other expenses like medical, donations, political contributions, and so on and so forth. And once you select that, then you will be able to go to the profile section. This profile, in your profile, you basically would be entering your basic information. This is very straightforward. Doesn't take up any tax knowledge to do it. And then when it's come to for example, questions like this, there would be a tooltip where you could just click on and see, what do they actually mean. And we also have videos on the site. So if you're not sure about certain things, then you should be able to watch one of the videos that's kind of talks about, how to do certain things. So that's pretty handy as well. And let's see here. So this is about your residence. So if you change your provinces between, say, for example, you went to, school in Montreal, and then you move back to Ontario and say sometime in, say, December. So the CRA wants you to select the December 31st residency status. So basically, if you were living in Toronto, say, for example, in December 31st, then you would be reporting that as an Ontario. So They want to know because sometime you might be qualifying, you might be qualified to get some provincial benefit. So if you move that province, then you no longer qualified to get the credits. So the CRA wants to know that whether you're still in the same province or you move to a different province. So we could talk about the provincial credits later as well. Okay, so and then rest of them is pretty straightforward in terms of like your Canadian citizenship status, and if you're a new immigrant, then you will be filling out this section. This is kind of very common for international students. So if you are one of the international students, then you would want to take a look at this as well. So you're putting your entry date, and again, this should match with your SIN data entry, SIN entry as well, because when you register a SIN, they give you, you put the date of entry, and that will be, again, it has to match that as well. So, and then you would have to report your foreign source of income that you had. Say, for example, you move from, say, India, and in India you were working for, say, part time. You had X amount of dollars, say $1,000 that you made before you're coming to Canada in that fiscal year. So basically, if you're coming to Canada in, say, February, and then you made like $100 or $200 in Canadian dollars equivalent for a month of January, then you would have to put that in this here, even though you're not going to get taxed on that amount. So especially if you're moving in, you're not going to get taxed in that first year. Whatever you made, you're not paying tax, but this will be used to calculate your basic personal amount, which is we'll come to that in detail. Okay. All right. So that's that. And also here's the CRA's autofill my option. This is an optional service. If you're filing for the first time, then you may not be able to use it because you may not have a CRA's My account. So this is an easy way. If you already have a CRA's My account, all you have to do is click on autofill. Right now it's disabled because the tax season is not open yet. So once that is open, then you will be able to go and autofill your taxes. Then you should be able to get all the information populated automatically, and so you don't have to do any data entry. So even if you don't have that option, we also have an option to upload the slip. So basically, you could upload a T4 if you have it. If you're a T4A, you could simply click on the button here, and then you could upload the information to the we will just read that information for you. So it's a nice feature. None of the other tax software company has them yet. So we are one of the first one to have it here in Canada. Anyways, so that's a great feature. I love that. And let's go on. So basically, there's as I said, you could navigate through the left navigation, or you could navigate through by just clicking next. But every time you make a change, you will have to press next to save it. And if you have multiple T4s, for example, here, and you can come back and add the T4 here on this section. So for instance, if you have received a, say, CERB benefit, then you will be reporting it here. And the emergency student benefit, CESB, then you would be reporting it here. All this information, you don't have to do any guessing. CRA will issue a T4A. If you receive the CERB from EI, Service Canada, then you will be getting a T4E. But in most cases, a lot of people receive the benefits through CRA, so they will be getting a T4A. That would go into these fields. And again, you don't have to do any guesswork. If you have a T4A, simply scan it, or just do a data entry based on the number, the number that you have there. So if it is CESB, then you will be inputting right here. All right, and in terms of deductions, I think I kind of touched upon, like the RSP, it's pretty straightforward. A lot of people have them. And if you're a student, you most likely haven't started contributing to RSP yet. But if somebody, if you're working part-time, that's something that you will be able to get this limit information from your 2019 taxes from your notice of assessment. And then you would put your current contribution here. And then we have until March 1st to contribute. So if somebody worked and if you want to contribute to RSPs, that's a great way to do it as well. So, and after that, once that is done, then the Ontario credits comes in. Basically, there are a few other credits available, but mainly I'm going to talk about the Trillium benefit, which is more more beneficial for students, people in the beginning stage. So basically, what it does is, it's you will be able to get some, if you're in the lower income, especially when you're a student, you'll be the lower income amount, and you will be getting some money every month, up to $158 in Ontario, per month for a 12-month period. You could also choose to get it as a one lump sum payment as well. That's an option there. So that's that. So once you put that in, you just select whether it's a rent or property tax, and put the amount in for the total months, and then you will be done. And you will go to the error check page. You click on the error check, and they will just have to confirm all the information. So if you get any errors, it will tell you. So once you fix it, then you will be able to go to the review page. In the review page, you basically will review the taxes that the information that you entered, and then you will be able to click on file to file the tax return. So it's pretty straightforward. It's not difficult at all. But if you have any questions, always beneficial to, this is one of the great service that we have. It is tax help. So you could just jump in, and then you will be able to talk to somebody at CloudTax, and they will be able to help you. So that's it for the demo. So I'm gonna jump with questions that you guys may have about any tax topics, so then I'll be able to cover them. So I'm just gonna stop the screen share. Again, before I stop that, I think if you haven't um, downloaded the app, please go ahead and download it and enroll it for the gift card. And it's $100. You can literally buy a lot of things for $100, even though it's yeah, that's it. So anybody have any questions so far? Alex, do we have any questions?
Yes, someone did say they have a question, but I don't think they posted it yet because I know we're lagging. Oh wait, you mentioned RRSP. Could you speak to that again?
Sorry, it was pretty choppy. So like, I think you mentioned about RSP, right? Is that what you wanted me to cover?
Sorry, yeah,
Okay.
I'm with Rogers, but yeah. So they asked, you mentioned RRSP. Could you speak to that again regarding how much we're entitled to, and then so that amount would be on the previous year's return? Question mark.
Yes. So the RSPs is another great way to reduce your taxes. It's basically, it will, I think most of you probably know. If not, then, the RSP is probably the most commonly used tax, tool that a lot of people use them to reduce their taxes. And basically what happens is that you have, you gain a limit. So that limit basically will be based on your previous year earned income. So say, for example, if you earned a $10,000 income, and then 18% of that will go into your RSP limit every year. So if you don't use it, then that gets carried over to the next year. So say, for example, 2 years down the road, you earn 10,000, and then you get 18% of that, and then 18% of the other year, then you have that limit to contribute to RSP. So what happens is you have until March 1st, usually the 60 days after the year started, to contribute to RSP, and then you could still claim them on the previous year. So for now, just to give you an example, you have until March 1st this year to contribute to RSP for 2020. So why that is a lot of people get so many income, and they don't know how much they're going to be having as a total income, and they don't know how much to contribute into to reduce the taxes. So a lot of people, not a lot of people maximize the RSP contributions, because there are other platforms as well, like for example, tax-free saving account. It's depending on what the tool, what the goal is. So a lot of people, leave so much room in there. So what happens is that at the end of the year, they do calculations. So based on that, and then they will say, hey, okay, if you contributed X amount of dollar, your taxes will be reduced to zero. So you will contribute up to that amount to maximize on the RSPs. So that's kind of the thing. And then again, it will be on your notice of assessment for 2019, or you could find that information on your CRS My account as well. So that's there. Yeah. And do we have Did I
Yeah,
cover
we
that?
have a couple more. So someone also asked, what if I have 2 or 4 T4s?
It so coming with the multiple T4s, there's an issue. Uh, so I'm going to talk about the basic personal amount. So you have until, like, say for example, for the first $13,000, give or take, you don't have to pay any taxes. I'm talking about federal tax and provincial tax. So there are taxes that you need to pay. For example, CPP. If you're making over $3,500 a year, you should start contributing to CPP. So there's no way out of it, unless you have some exemptions. But CPP is something mandatory that goes into your pension account. And what happens is that when you're working at a multiple T4s, sometimes they don't tax properly. So you don't, when you join a job, you have to prepare something called TD1 form. A lot of people miss out on that. So what happens is that they will take the advantage of that first $13,000 at both employment. So they would think, hey, okay, this person is coming to work. I'm going to assume that he hasn't worked for the whole year. So I'm going to take that advantage of that $13,000 when I calculate my taxes. So you would be paying lesser taxes in that first $13,000 for both. So when you're doing your taxes, you'll be at a tax owing. And if you're a student, it's different because you have you will have some credits that will help you offset it, but like that's kind of the common problem. So having a multiple T4 is the same thing in terms of the preparing the taxes. You simply have to enter the T4 slips on that particular T4 page, and then it will be taken care of for you, so that you don't have to do anything else on top of that. So I hope that answers your questions.
Okay, someone asked, if you are both a student and working, what would require both T4A and T2202 forms, right?
Yeah. So basically, what happens is that when you're an employee, when you're a student, you get a T2202 slip. All this time, the school didn't have to send it to CRA. So when you say you're a student, you basically have to tell CRA, hey, I went to UFT, I went to Seneca, or whatever the case maybe is, and then you need to provide that T2202A if the CRA asks to see it. So you don't have to send it with the tax return, but you will have to produce it after. But what happened was, a lot of people kind of missing out on that. So every time, you'll be at school, you say that you're in school, you put that information in on your taxes, and after 3-4 months down the road, CRA will send an email, mail saying, hey, send us that T2202s that you said you went to school full time for. And then what happened is that the student missed out, they missed the email or the mail, and they don't end up sending. Then the CRA will do a reassessment on the case, and they will say, hey, this is what you owe now. And then the student will, they a lot of people that I worked with they don't even take it seriously. They were like, okay, I think the CRA want me to pay back, and then I'll go ahead and pay back my refund or something like that. So that happens when a few years before. Now that the CRA gets the T2202, you will simply input the T2202 in your on the slip, on the tax slip, as well as you would just report the T4 income as well. So the T4 and T2202 it's good. It's actually a great way if you have an income and at the same time you have the T2202. It will help you reduce your taxes a lot, because the taxes calculated on the taxable income. The T2202 will help you reduce the taxes. So if you just have T2202 for 1 year and then you didn't even work, that T2202 credit will get carried forward for the next year until you use them. So you use them, so you're not going to lose them at all. So that's a great credit to have. Unlike most of the other credits, that the T2202 will carry forward until you use them. Or you could even transfer them to your parents or caregivers, whoever that is. You could choose to transfer up to $5,000 in that current year. So if you went to school this year, paid $5,000 for your school, and then you could transfer that amount to your parent, one of your parent, for that $5,000. Is that good enough?
I hope so. I think
Really,
it was.
we're
It's
getting
really
because I'm
focusing.
not able to see the comments, so I'm just going off.
Um, s- One of the very recent comments said that they didn't see an option for the T2202 slips.
They don't see the option.
Yeah, but
Okay, so I'm probably they're mentioning about CloudTax. So there's a search bar on CloudTax, so they could just simply click on the search bar and then just type in T2202, and then it will just take into the T2202 slip. So it's pretty straightforward. You should be able to find it. If not, you could go to the add or remove slips, and then you should be able to find it as well. If you go to add or remove slips, it will be under there. So it's, there's a couple of ways to find the slips that you're looking for.
okay, someone asked, will the process be the same if I'm an international student and also working, and what forms will I need to get?
Okay, so international students filing the taxes is pretty much the same as a Canadian citizen who's filing the taxes. It doesn't make any difference when you're filing them. Again, as I talked about earlier, you will have to report your date of entry. So if you made prior to coming to Canada, if you made some money and that might change your basic personal amount, which is the 13,000 we talked about. So that would get prorated. So if you come and say, for example, in June, and you had X amount of dollar income that you earned in the previous country, then what happens is that get divided by, say will be almost half of it will be gone, and you would only have the basic personal taxes of 7,500 instead of like say $13,000. So that would get changed, and then based on that, your taxes will be a little bit higher than normal. But in terms of everything else calculated, it's pretty much the same. And international students, the problem is that most of the time, they don't have the right information at CRA. So when you don't have your personal basic information, for example, your name, your mailing address, date of birth, marital status, CRA cannot verify you when you're filing your net file. So a lot of people get that information from CRA saying, hey, you have to file a paper return. Unfortunately, that's not the truth. Even if you call CRA, they will say, first year, you have to file it on paper, but that's not true. You could file without going through paper return. You could work with, for example, CloudTax Pro. One of us will be able to help you file it, even if you don't have the profile set up. But if you call or if you get the forms, there's an address change form that you could send in and all that stuff to get the CRA know that this is your address. And if you update that information prior to filing your taxes, then you could file your taxes for free using CloudTax or any other tax software in that fact. So it's simply that they want to have all the information up to date before before they accept you accept your file. So that's a major difference. If you were born in Canada, if you receive like child tax benefit and all that stuff, most likely you might have a profile set up in CRA already. So that's a huge difference. Yeah.
There's another question saying that, so after filling everything in and you submit, does this automatically, this automatically does your taxes, meaning that your government cleared, that the government recognizes that you have done your yearly taxes?
Yes. So when you file your taxes with CloudTax or any other net filing software, you get a confirmation at the end. So that confirmation is basically telling you that you file your taxes with the CRA, and you will get a confirmation number. So there's nothing in between. So you submit directly, either they're accepting it or rejecting it, you will get a confirmation number. So once you get the confirmation number saying, hey, we successfully accepted your file, then you're good to go. So you don't have to there's no guessing work involved, and all you have to do is just wait for them to send you the notice of assessment. If you're filing for the first time, then it will take a bit longer. But if you're filing, if you've been filing before, even if your parents filed it or you filed it by with an accountant, then you will get your taxes back in about 8 business days. Yeah.
Okay, and then our last question, can you please explain where you include your rent expenses on your tax return?
Yes. So basically, you will be going to the Ontario credits. If it's not applicable for all the provinces, say for example, if you're in BC, then it wouldn't be applicable. But if you're in Ontario, then you will be able to enter them there. It's under the Ontario credits. If you go to the provincial credits tab, and then the first or second question, it will ask if you want to apply for the ON Ben, which is the Ontario Trillium benefit. So in there, you just have to say yes, and then you have to put the information on your rent paid or it's a property tax paid, and then you put the information there.
Perfect. So thank you so much for sharing your experience and insights into the tax landscape of Canada.
No.
And I would also like to remind everybody watching that there is a giveaway happening during this live stream. So if you go to the Google form link, you will be entered to win a $50 Amazon financial bundle. So make sure to complete that before the workshop ends. Okay, so next up we have Kyle, and he is a fourth year student at Ontario Tech. While not in class, he previously spends much of his time working for TD Canada Trust, as a personal banking associate. Kyle is currently one of the CPA Ontario Board of Ambassador representatives for Ontario Tech and a teaching assistant in the Faculty of Business and IT. So I'm just going to pass it over.
Cool, thanks, Alex. Thank you to Skillshare Ontario Tech for setting up this presentation and for inviting me to speak. So let me just pull this up. Okay, yeah, awesome. So yeah, hi everyone. My name again, it's Kyle, and I'm here to talk to you about my experience filing my taxes as a student, as well as provide some general financial planning tips and talk a little bit about the CPA designation. So as for myself, I'm currently a fourth year student at Ontario Tech. I'm in my final semester, and after graduating this spring, I will be pursuing my CPA designation, which stands for Chartered Professional Accountant, if you did not know. During my undergrad, as Alex mentioned, I did work at TD for just under 2 years. I started off as a teller. The role title was technically Customer Experience Associate. I was eventually promoted to being a personal banking associate. As a teller, I provided day-to-day advice, and as a personal banking associate, I provided day-to-day advice as well, but with more depth. This advice included helping them find the right account for them according to their spending patterns, helping people establish credit through lines of credits and loans, and helping them navigate my network of colleagues that offer differing levels of specialized advice on mortgages and investments. A lot of my personal knowledge around financial literacy comes from my time at TD. I'll be sharing some general tips around financial literacy towards the end of my presentation. As of right now, I'm a teaching assistant with the Faculty of Business and IT here at Ontario Tech, and I'm also one of the Board of Ambassadors representatives for CPA Ontario. As a Board of Ambassadors representative, I help to promote the designation here at Ontario Tech. One of the main things I promote for CPA Ontario is their post-secondary ambassador program. The PSEP program, intended for post-secondary students in Ontario, aims to bridge the gap between education and employer expectations by providing workshops and networking events that allow students to build the soft skills that most employers are looking for. As I'm sure a lot of you know, no matter what your situation, through schooling, we receive a ton of technical knowledge, and employers aren't always super interested. A lot of the time, some of the technical skills we learned are easy to teach once you get on the job. They're more interested in whether you have the soft skills to succeed in the organization. And for myself and my peers, we found that our need for that was met through the PSEP program. It also opens up students to various pathways available to CPAs. CPAs work across many different industries and in many different positions. In reality, all CPAs are not necessarily experts in personal income tax. Someone who is, you might call them a tax accountant. They could also be a tax specialist and not even have their CPA. Yes, we all get a base level of tax knowledge required in the training to become a CPA, but honestly, most don't use personal income tax in practice on a daily basis. Therefore, they don't possess the necessary knowledge and experience to file complex tax returns. A lot of people, when you tell them you're studying accounting and looking to get your CPA, they assume that you'll be doing their taxes for them one day. This is not always the case. For instance, for myself, I'll be working in public accounting at a large firm as an auditor starting in the fall. When I take my final exam to become a CPA, I will have to have some in-depth tax knowledge. However, I'll likely be auditing large corporations and won't be utilizing a lot of what I've learned about filing personal income tax returns and tax planning on an individual level, at least in my career. The knowledge that I personally utilize will more likely have to do with corporate taxation and I won't be able to give as good tax advice as someone who deals with personal taxation. Similarly, if you think, for example, a CPA working as an analyst at a bank is unlikely to have a thorough enough understanding of personal income tax to provide tax advice. So despite this, despite the fact that I don't plan on doing tax, I don't consider my expert in tax, I still filed my own returns last year. My personal returns as a student, as yours likely are really simple and don't necessarily require the expert advice of a tax specialist to complete. So last year, I decided it was finally time to file my own taxes for the first time. Prior to then, myself, like many others, had a designated family member to do my taxes for me. For me and my family, it's always been my mom, but I've heard of other people's grandpas, dads, uncles, and aunts all being the designated tax filer for the family. There's nothing wrong with this, to be honest. I mean, oftentimes there might appear to be a bit of an overconfidence bias with some of these family members, but the software used to file taxes will generally guide the user in the right direction, as you saw with Nim's presentation, and will help you input the correct income and claim the right credits. I had just taken intro to tax this time last year, and I was feeling a little more confident than I previously had. I'd always been nervous of screwing it up and somehow owing a ton of money to the CRA, then having my bank account frozen, which does happen, but not usually from one faulty tax return. How I learned to calculate income tax in class did not necessarily translate into practice. I have my book here, almost 3,000 pages, which we use daily in class. You can see it, to calculate income tax, which works great in theory, but in a practical sense, when I'm calculating my own taxes, when you're calculating a student's income tax, it's not the most useful thing in the world. So when I did my tax for the first time, I used the free TurboTax software, which is a popular platform for filing returns. I will be giving CloudTax a shot this time around, though, for sure. When I did use TurboTax, I opted for using the CRA autofill feature. I was working with a few slips. I had T4s from a couple jobs, slips from government grants and scholarships, slips from RSP contributions, and my tuition slips as well. These slips are sent by whoever the sender is, whether that's a financial institution, your school, your employer, to both you and the CRA, and this feature simply just uploads the slips that the CRA has already received. All that I had to do was to verify what I had matched what was autofilled, and I was basically done my return. The system for credits, I mean, it's always changing in Canada. There's always new ones coming up, but luckily the software changes with it. It walked me through various scenarios to see whether credits applied to me. I have to admit, it was useful to have some tax knowledge when doing this because it gave me the comfort that I was getting all the credits I was eligible for, but really not necessary. I mean, we all have Google nowadays. We have intelligent softwares like CloudTax that really guides us through the process to make sure that we get all the tech credits we are entitled to. For me personally, I was luckily entitled to a refund. I had already set up direct deposit for CRA deposits through my bank. If you're looking to do this, this can also be done online on the CRA website and over the phone. For a lot of people this year, I'm sure with CERB and everything, you may get to the end and end up owing money. In that case, of course, there's many options to pay. You can pay through your bank, through the CRA, or through various third-party services. You have lots of options. So when it comes to filing your taxes in the first place, there's obviously lots of options. If you're thinking of having someone else doing it for you, you could always use a tax accountant or a service like H&R Block. I have friends whose family accesses an accountant together and gets a good deal. And I also know people who go to H&R Block and receive their return right away for a fee. Unless you urgently need that money for rent or groceries, I would say that's probably not a great option. A lot of these services, as Nim was saying, like while they're useful and convenient, they can be costly for what is likely is a simple return that you can do yourself. Moving into your future, you might find more use. If you start your own business, you have various streams of income, or you're making a ton of money, services like that can help you maximize the deductions available to you and minimize tax over the long term and are then more valuable to you versus now. For now, as a student, the cost doesn't really outweigh the benefits for these. Here at Ontario Tech, at least, our accounting association will be running an income tax clinic sometime in the next month. There's a threshold for the max income which you can go to, which you can have your return filed by them for makes sense, which I wasn't able to get a hold of. If this is something you might be interested in, Follow them on Instagram for updates when it's happening. If you're not in the area, maybe you're in a different province, Google CVITP clinic. You should get a Government of Canada page that helps you locate a local tax clinic near you. But ultimately, my message to you is the best way to do this is just do it yourself. There's a ton of resources out there to help you get through it now. The more you know, the less nervous you'll be come tax season year after year. Credits come and go and your income may change, but the foundation of how taxation works stays the same. The only way to really learn it is by doing your own taxes. So I really highly encourage you all to go for it. So tax literacy, of course, it's part of the broader topic of financial literacy. And I just like to share some of my tips that I've picked up over time working for TD and in my personal life as well in my time as a student. Number one, super important to keep track of your spending. I'm sure you heard this before. If you haven't started doing it yet, this is your sign. Keeping track of your spending is essential to having control over your finances. You have to know where your money is if you're going to achieve any financial objective you may have, whether that be getting a house, car, going on vacation, anything. Online services are offered by a lot of banks now. I know I track my spending through my bank, as well as third parties. A pen and paper or even a spreadsheet also work just fine as well. The best way in my experience I found to do this is to look at a typical month, maybe look at last year in October or November, figure out how much you spent on different categories like gas, eating out, and shopping. Set a realistic target about where you want to be if you notice spending in a certain category is a little out of control. Just making sure that that's realistic. If you set too high of an expectation for yourself, odds are you're going to fail and you'll lose that initial motivation you had to really keep track of your spending and get it under control. My next tip for you is to save regularly. Just like spending, saving is a habit. You have to be consistent in your behaviors in order to be successful. The best practice I've found is to have a small amount of money transferred every month. That looks different for everyone. For someone, it might be $100. For someone else, it might be $20. Where I see people fail in their savings when I was working at the bank is when they got too bold. They would start way too big, fail, and then just totally give up and lose all motivation to save. So important to start small with saving. Another piece of advice is to start investing. This is obviously a huge topic. All I'll say on it is that if you have some money you've saved, or maybe you're expecting a nice tax return this year, look for your options. Your bank is a great place to start to ask questions and get some basic knowledge on the types of investments, whether that be mutual funds, GICs, stocks, and account types like RSPs, TFSAs available to you. They have a lot of information on you and they can kind of take in your current situation and give you a more immediate personalized answer. Note that you don't necessarily have to invest through them. It can be expensive, and oftentimes if you're not investing a lot, it can be better to go through a different service, but it's a great place to start collecting information on how to invest. And my last one, kind of obvious, but super important, pay your bills on time and in full. This is, of course, important for your credit score and to save yourself on interest. A lot of people don't know this, but for visas, even if you're making the minimum payment, you'll still get charged interest on the entire statement balance unless you pay it in full. For instance, if your statement balance is $1,000, you pay off $500, you still have to pay that 19% interest on the full $1,000. So it's super important to make sure your statement balance is manageable and something you can pay. Also, don't focus all your energy on credit scores. They get a lot of hype, but when you're looking to borrow for a mortgage, it's only really a piece of what the bank is looking for. The 3 C's that we used, or there's 5, depending on who you ask of credit, are character, capacity, and collateral. Character, what they're looking for in your character is your employment stability, which is your ability to stay with an employer for an extended period of time, or how long you've been with an employer. They're also looking for your residence stability, your ability to stay in one place, and your financial habits. So, how much are you spending per month? Are you saving regularly? That kind of thing. Capacity refers to your ability to take on debt. If you have an excellent credit score, but you have way too much debt compared to your income, as to what the bank is willing to lend to you for, you're not going to get any money lent to you. So, and also collateral refers to whether you have savings available to back up the purchase, or if you're buying a house, how much that house is worth. They're all different important parts of this equation. Banks are going to look at the whole picture, or any lender you go to. So it's really important to not just focus on your credit score, but focus on improving financial literacy habits overall. So earlier I talked about how the CPAs aren't all tax specialists, and I just wanted to talk to you guys briefly about what CPAs do if you don't already know. So they work across all disciplines, of course. Throughout the journey to get the CPA, you learn about tax and financial reporting, but that's not necessarily the skill set all CPAs use. CPAs work across a ton of disciplines. The analytical decision-making skills that CPAs acquire in pursuit of the designation is what creates a high demand for CPAs and is used wherever they're working. I was at an event yesterday actually with a CPA who works in IT, and he described the designation fairly accurately when he said it represents dedication to the businesses you're looking to work for. So for anyone not majoring in accounting, note you don't need to be an accounting major to become a CPA. There's other ways you can fulfill the prerequisite courses for becoming a CPA. If you are interested in the CPA, you're a post-secondary student in Ontario, I encourage you to sign up for the PSAT program I had mentioned earlier. Our upcoming events include a case competition, employment connection nights, an Excel workshop, and much more. So if that sounds like something that might interest you and you're a post-secondary student in Ontario, feel free to scan that QR code. Also, if I don't get to a question during the question period, or if something else comes up, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. We can talk there, and follow CPA Ontario Tech socials. All right, and that's all I have for now. I am going to pass it back to Alex then.
Hi, thank you. That was great. I'm pretty sure CloudTax has been asking or answering all the questions in the chat here. But if anybody has any questions for Kyle, I'm pretty sure he'll be more than happy to answer them for everybody. But that was great. Very informative. Makes me feel more confident about filing my taxes.
Oh yeah, anyone can do it.
Okay. So what would you say are the common mistakes that people do or miss out on when filing their taxes?
Nim, do you want to take this one? I have a ton of experience with it.
No problem. Yeah, so I think I'll just quickly jump in. So a lot of the things that get missed out is like, for example, like moving expense is very common for students and for employed as well. So if you're, for example, if you're if you moved to start a school or start a job, then you should be able to claim a lot of the moving expenses. So the moving expenses work like very similar to RSP in terms of like the deduction wise. So you get like, say for example, you have a $1,000 in moving expenses. So that will help you reduce your income by $1,000, which is a great way to reduce your taxes, right? So contributing to RSP, sometimes it's so hard as a student. You may not have the limit to contribute. So these are the other credits that you should be taking into consideration. And especially if you're starting a school, and then all the scholarship, like, a lot of them are, non-taxable because when you're a full-time student, but if you're not full-time students, then you get that $500 exemption, and then rest will be taxed. So that will help you reduce your income again. So that's a great way to reduce your taxes. So those are the the important ones. And then also like the climate action incentive is basically, if you're living in a certain province, like for example Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Ontario, then you get to claim the climate action incentive, and that's a great way to get some money back. And regardless of your if whether you're living with your parents, because sometimes it can be confusing because it says one per household, and a lot of people think that it's okay, my parents are claiming, so I won't be able to claim it. So if you're doing your own taxes, then you should be able to claim it as well. So that's another big credit that people miss out on. And yeah, and so a lot of people don't file the taxes. That's kind of the biggest mistake, because CRA is not going to chase you down and say, hey, here's your GST HST credit that you're going to be getting, or Trillium. Any of those provincial benefits they're not going to give you until you file your taxes. So filing your taxes is the first step, and then everything will be kind of like go from there. So I think those are the ones I could think of right away. And I think people were asking about like even crypto. I think there's a lot of hype in the crypto, investing and all that stuff. So basically, you will be reporting those in the taxes as well. And if you're a student, if you made some money and it's not going to impact your taxes so much, so you don't have to worry too much unless you are making so much money. And on top of it, if you have an investment income, then it would make a significant difference. But when you're in that $13,000 threshold, and it won't be a big issue. So when you sell your cryptocurrencies or your stocks, then you should be getting you will be reporting your capital gain on your taxes as well. And 50% of it is the amount that you get reported. So say for example, you gain $10,000 out of stock or crypto, then you basically will reporting $5,000 in your taxes that get added to your income. And recently CRA requested CoinShare to give all the details about all the traders and people who've been having it. So it's CRA is kind of like getting more into this things, and they want to kind of tackle all the other small avenues that don't get reported to the CRA, right? Because if you're working at an employment and your T4 gets sent to CRA, but that's not the case in all the other things. That's one of the thing. And income reporting is one of the important thing as well. Like if you're a gamer, if you're getting some money through there, like you're a live streamer or even like influencer, then all the income that you earned would qualify for the RSP limit as well, because it's an earned income. So you may want to report those ones to build up your RSP limit as well, because RSPs can be a huge benefit when you're buying your house. That would be a great way to build up the RSP. So you could take it out without paying taxes at that time, and then you could contribute back into a 15 years gap. You could repay the amount that you took off. So it's a great strategies that you could do. And then again, it's all different per person, so it's all case by case basis. And you may want to check out with an accountant or somebody if you have a little bit complex scenario. And at CloudTax, we do help out with the live chat. Most of the general inquiries we do answer for free. So feel free to try. If you have any questions, then we'll be happy to assist you on the live chat as well. So yeah. Do we have any more questions to answer?
So there's one that is for Kyle, and it's, how do you budget your personal expenses?
Yeah, for sure. So for myself as a student, as I'm sure lots of other students, my life is basically broken into semesters. So at the beginning of every semester, I kind of have an idea of how much I'll be working that semester and how much money I'll be bringing in. So from there, I'll say, okay, each month in this semester, I'm going to be making this much money, working this many hours. And from there, I'll assign expenses. So I'll say, okay, I want to take this much and move it to my savings every month since I'll be making this much. And then this much I'm going to spend here, this much there. So I just go semester by semester and break down my expenses that way. And I set up automatic transfers for the savings based on how much I'll be making as well. Bam.
Okay, so someone said that if we live with our parents, what taxes other than CESB can be filed?
So if you're living with the parents, you don't have, so you only report your income, right? So you report your income, and if you have any tax credit to claim, then you will claiming. So CSB, basically your income that you receive from the government. So you would simply get a T4A slip from CRA, and then you simply have to report that on the taxes. And if you didn't make any other income on your employment, you most likely you won't have any tax owing. And if you're a student or previously been a student, then the tuition credits will help you reduce your tax owing, if there's any, depending on how much money you took during the time. Yeah, so I will be hanging on the chat for you guys for some time. If you have any questions, or feel free to jump to CloudTax for any questions, and we'll be happy to take answer them for you. Okay.
Okay, and then here's just a general kind of question. So if there's one piece of advice that you'd like the audience to take away from today, what would that be?
From my side, I would say start doing your taxes and taking control of your finances. Like, it's like the one thing that's hard to do, but once you do it, you won't regret, because it's not about how much money you make end of the day. It's all about how much you keep. So knowing how the taxes are working, how you're being taxed, and all that stuff will help you in the long run. So to plan out things in advance. So filing your taxes at the end of the year, you cannot be creative, because you already lost that year and you just reporting what happened in that particular year. So I would suggest spend some time learning about the tax credits and the deductions that you have. Plan it out so that you understand and you kind of like know what you're getting into when you're making money. So if you're making a $1 million, literally almost half of it will be gone to tax. So you might say you're a millionaire, but you're not. You're half millionaire after paying taxes. So that's a huge portion of the tax amount that will be going. So you want to kind of get an understanding of how tax system work, so you could plan for your life better. So that's probably my advice. Like, taking control of your finances will be something that you wouldn't regret, because it will help you all the time.
Yeah, and I would agree with Nim as well. I mean, just do your own taxes is my biggest biggest advice to people. If your situation's not that complex, you're not making that much money, it's such an easy thing to do yourself and kind of build that knowledge that you'll really be able to use later on. So, when you're going to your accountant later in life, and hopefully we're all making like $1 million, you have a basic idea of what they're doing, and an idea of how the system works and how it can benefit you, for sure.